You might have heard already a few times that we mentioned the term exploratory testing. You might be familiar with it and with a certain definition of the exploratory testing. It could be the one that we understood or not. Depends on the style of the testing you were performing before. So let's talk about exploratory testing as defined by the people who actually coined the term. The exploratory testing was first mentioned by Ken Kainer and James Beck in the late 90s. The definition of the exploratory testing we like to use is the one from the book Explore It, that says that exploratory testing is a style of testing in which you explore the software while simultaneously designing and executing tests using feedback from the last test to inform the next one. This means that the exploration is actually one of the most difficult and most hard to perform testing out there. Exploratory testing requires the tester to know many techniques, to be quite observant, and to be quite diligent while performing the testing. That's why it's so hard, and that's why it's so easy to say, oh no, we don't do exploratory testing. Exploratory testing is easy. There is a tendency to mark as easy or trivial those things we don't understand or we are not capable of doing. This doesn't mean that all we do is exploratory testing, or this doesn't mean that scripted testing is useless. No. All testing, if you want to do good testing, then all testing will be scripted to a certain extent and will be exploratory to a certain extent. For example, if you have already predefined test cases or acceptance test cases, you might use them to guide your exploration. You will first perform the script, follow the text of the test case, just to confirm that everything that should be in place is there and to learn more about the application. While you're doing so, you can start exploring around different points. You can take notes. For example, if you find text fields, you can try experimenting with different tests inside the framework of the exploration. The richness of this process is only limited by the breadth and depth of our imagination and our insights into the nature of the product under test. Exploratory testing is especially useful in complex testing situations, when you have little knowledge about the product or as a part of preparing a set of scripted tests such as automation. Exploratory testing is called for any time when the next test you should perform is not so obvious, or when you want to go behind the obvious, and in testing that's usually most of the time. So how do we plan for exploration? Exploration can take place at any time, while we run the scripted test, as we mentioned already, or while we investigate for the automation, or while we design tests. Planned exploratory testing takes place when we define the mission of testing beforehand and place it in a written form. The written form can be test charters, user stories, including their acceptance criteria or acceptance tests or test cases, a group of predefined tests that we can take together and that cover the specific area of the product under test. And how do we manage the exploratory testing? Since the one that takes decision in exploratory testing is a tester, and he takes decisions about design, execution, and the review at the same time, note-taking becomes very important, rather essential. We can use screen recordings, voice notes, pen and paper. They're all good while they do not interrupt our intellectual process of testing. There is a small tool you have downloaded and should started using called Rapid Reporter. It's quite a nice tool for taking notes since it's not so invasive and you can continue testing, it's not interrupting your testing. There are several ways of managing the exploratory testing. For example, we can use session-based test management when we divide our testing in sessions that can be from 45 to 90 minutes usually, and each session is focused on a particular testing charter. Also, we can use Pomodoro style exploratory testing management. The sessions are a bit shorter, therefore the charter should be narrower. In any case, if we want to take good use of exploratory testing, it must be managed. It's not that exploratory testing is ad hoc, or it's not managed, or it's not formal. it must be quite managed and quite formal and quite planned to be effective. Once we are done testing, we would like to report to the stakeholders. Do you remember? It's all about the information that matters to someone. The session-based test management proposes a TBS reporting style in which the testing is reported in terms of time: testing time, bug investigation time, and setup time. We do not count the number of tests or bugs, rather we count the time we spent testing. The more time we spent testing, the better. This means that the product is in good shape. However, if we spend lots of time doing setup, preparing the product, or if we spend lots of time doing bug investigation and bug reporting, this means that, the product might not be in such a good shape. We will be using a specific template to report our testing sessions. You already downloaded this template. You can take a look at it.